Now resume the 548th meeting of the Board of Trustees. That's the come to order. Will you please rise and salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Donnelly, please call the roll for attendance.
Yes, sir. Mary Adams.
Present.
Anthony Ganaccio. John Dorso. Jorge Guardian is not here. Richard Gutierrez is not here. Jeffrey Grimes.
Present.
Farouk Amin. Present. And I'm Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the April 30th minutes.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention?
Well, this is a good start. We can't. So we can't vote on it. No, that's not just on it. Can't vote on it. Okay.
As per Article 2 of the bylaws of the Academic Senate, the members of the Executive Committee of the Academic Senate will be provided an opportunity tonight for discussion of the issues related to President Astraf's veto of the Academic Senate's resolution regarding reassigned time. This discussion will take place at this point in time in open session prior to conducting any further business of the board. In this regard, there will be no time limit on the discussion by the members of the Executive Committee on this issue. Invite you up.
I am here in attendance with Dr. Ed Boyden, who is a medieval scholar in the history department, and he is the secretary of the Academic Senate. So he'll be joining me tonight. Professor Bogan, as some of you may know, had an accident on campus and broke her knee. She's been out for a few months, and Dr. Stoyer is out of town. So I am here on behalf of the Academic Senate and the Academic Senate Executive Committee to discuss the presidential veto of the Academic Senate resolution and the subsequent override of the veto by the Academic Senate. The resolution, as you know, requested restoration of reassigned time for the officers of the Academic Senate and the college-wide curriculum committee chair. Last Wednesday, we hand-delivered a packet to you with relevant information, a copy of our bylaws, a copy of the Senate resolution, the administration's response, and comments made by the senators, as well as the president's veto. I trust you've had time to review those documents. At the board meeting last month, you heard from the faculty about the importance of shared governance and the time necessary to do the work, so we are not going to repeat that tonight. To assist you in understanding the financial impact, we have prepared a financial analysis, which I will give you in a moment. The faculty members who lead the Academic Senate and chair the Curriculum Committee have seen their burdens increase these past 2 years with a decrease in administrative staff for the academic areas, which demands that these faculty take a more active role in curriculum and other academic matters. This is all done as they teach their students in classes that have been enlarged due to the budget crunch, requiring that even more time be spent on student needs as well. Although these individuals are excused from teaching a few credit hours, they still fulfill their office hours to assist their students, maintain their departmental responsibilities with regard to curriculum development and course enhancement, in addition to the abundance of additional responsibilities that go with their respective college-wide offices. The true cost of reassigned time for the Academic Senate leadership is the expense of providing adjunct faculty to cover the classes of full-time faculty who serve as Senate officers and chair the Curriculum Committee.
something that's a year old, or 10 years old, or 20 years old, or 6 years old?
Oh, last 20 years, 27 years, we've had yeah. Okay, so I'm distributing a packet to you. On the top of the packet is an analysis that we did in terms of the number of credit hours for the academic year, what it would cost for the replacement of with an adjunct salary, and the total differential from the first line, including about 15% in fringe benefits. From the figures in the last column, it should be clear that the additional expense of maintaining the quality and integrity of our shared governance system is very, very small. $12,120 for the year divided among 4 academic senate officers, or $20,200 for the year divided among the 4 academic senate officers and the curriculum chair, as requested by the academic senate resolution. Out of a college budget of over $200 million, the amount of $20,200 is about 0.001, that is 0.01%, which is 1/100th of 1%. Excuse me?
She confused.
Yeah, that's one way to say it. So, we believe that there is no economic or academic reason to reduce reassigned time. Indeed, it is against all academic reason, and we believe that it is an overt attack on our shared governance. So I ask you, trustees, are you going to return the hours to the Academic Senate Executive Committee?
Dr. I think that there was a discussion, I don't know if you made it onto the microphone, I think you were asked how many years was going on. I just want to make sure that that made it onto the record. Oh, okay. Over 20 years, I have another analysis, I believe. Over 20 years, we have had the reassigned time, and last year it was cut 6 hours, and this year it's being proposed to be cut 33%. And what was the net result of last year's cut, in terms of how you perform your duties?
The net result was that the college-wide curriculum committee chair did not get reassigned time, so he had to work very, very, very long hours to answer all the questions that he needed to do, and it was incredibly difficult for him and for the Academic Senate Executive Committee who supported him to fulfill those duties, especially because we do not have an academic vice president. So the burden was increased very much.
Were the students affected in any way?
I would say the students are affected with almost all of the Academic Senate actions, because for curriculum in particular, it has a process. We have a process whereby our courses begin at the department level and then eventually make it to the college-wide curriculum, and eventually to the Academic Senate, and then to the President and to you. For programs in particular, things can be delayed if answers are not given to faculty who are developing those courses, and then the students can't get the programs or the courses they need. It impacts on innovation and creativity.
Did that occur? I know you mentioned it could happen. Did that occur?
Is Stu here?
Yeah.
Stu, would you like to respond? This is Professor Kaplan, chair of the College-Wide Curriculum Committee.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was, how have the students been impacted by the reduction of reassigned time for the College-Wide Curriculum Committee chair? And I was talking about how things take longer, you have more burdens as a faculty member, and that it could impact curriculum innovation, development, the speed at which things move through. But you might have more specific examples, I'm not sure.
Well, obviously, the time it takes this was my first year doing it, so obviously there's a learning curve that's been discussed by so many people, obviously, doing any job for the first time, and being dependent upon the Senate Executive Committee for information, and in the past there's been administrative representatives like Harold Barber, as I understand, who's done it for years. He's done an excellent job over these years, wasn't on the committee anymore, so I didn't have her as a resource. There's a lot of time that's taken answering questions and changes in administration, and the Vice President of Academic Affairs, there was one, and there wasn't one, and Dr. Saunders took over for student liaison, and Dean Judith Benet-Murray became the signator as the administrative representative in that committee, and of course it was our first time doing it as well. She did a great job, but again, it's a huge learning curve for anybody in any job for the first time, and there still is. It's a large manual, a lot of procedures, a lot of changes, and everybody did the best they could. And of course, there's the phone calls and wherever you are, and the people that come to your office, and the phone calls in your office hours, and it's just, time is outrageous. It's just, that's what's being asked for.
In your opinion, and I understand it's the first year doing it, in your opinion, was there any direct impact on the students?
My students or the overall audience?
However you would like.
Well, first of all, my students, obviously, as I'm doing office hours, my phone is ringing and phone calls are coming in. People need to know what's being signed and who signs this and so forth. But the students overall, I mean, this is the college courses, these are the programs, this is what we're all teaching. And I see students tremendously being affected by it. I mean, it's their classes, it's their courses, it's programs. Why do they come here? I see it was a tremendous effect. And I can see it become even more so in our achievers. Thank you.
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Middle States, how does this work into the Middle States milieu? Now, it's not clear, I had heard it.
I'm sorry, we were chatting about the CWCC and the very involved process it is to get a course approved. It takes over a year to do that. But I'm sorry, Trustee Carnaccio, you asked about Middle States.
Middle States evaluation, the Middle States process, Middle States view on this item that you're talking about. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Sure.
Could we go over a little about anything?
You may recall that in the past I have referred to Middle States, and some of my faculty colleagues have as well, speaking about how Nassau Community College in the past was the benchmark in shared governance for most institutions around the nation. And I wish I had the quote. I've certainly used it at the Senate, and I've used it here about our extraordinary and effective shared governance structure. As academic Senate chair and also as past president of the statewide organization, the Faculty Council of Community Colleges, I often am asked to go to other community colleges to help them with strengthening shared governance on their campus. So Nassau and the faculty at Nassau really have had the national arena because of how well we do shared governance and our historic defense of academic freedom with the three cases. Of course, academic freedom and shared governance are inextricably linked. In terms of Middle States, in our last review, we were applauded for our shared governance structure. We are very... I'm sorry.
Anthony, you asking about shared governance, or you asking about Middle States' opinion on, the time allowed?
That's what I'm discussing.
That's on the list.
I think it's on the time allowed, but I don't know if you can have the shared governance without the time allowed. It seems...
I thought you were asking about, is there a standard that they recommend?
See, in every school I worked in, and I was a teacher before I got into this racket that I'm in now, always had, there's an assignment. They give a guy an assignment, and he may get one class off a semester. Well, what invariably happened was you put a lot more time into that assignment that made the school run, developing curriculum, developing special programs for students. An awful lot more time than that one class would have taken. But that's how a lot of educational institutions run. So not knowing how the college itself works, but how other educational institutions that are part of work, I assume that has a play here. Am I right?
I guess I'm a little confused. I'm sorry. No, I'm sure you're communicating fine, but I think I'm hearing two questions. We have a very elaborate shared governance structure and complex shared governance structure here at Nassau Community College. We have 26 committees that work very effectively. The committees work, much of that work in other institutions would be done by very high-paid administrators, and it would not be done in the collegial and shared governance fashion. So when you asked me about Middle States, that got me very excited, Trustee Cornacchio, because Middle States, we've been best practices for Middle States with shared governance. So I guess I misheard you when you asked the question.
Do we know what other colleges in the area do at this time, like Suffolk or Rivers? In the response in your packet from the administration, they did an analysis. I assume you've all read this. They did an analysis comparing this to some other schools. And one of them was Westchester Community College. And Westchester Community College was one of those colleges that I worked with a year ago with their shared governance structure, because they had 2 committees or 3 committees and they were not effective at all. And the president and the faculty embrace shared governance on the campus, and they're all supporting shared governance, and they're getting more reassigned time and there's more effective governance on the campus. Middle States has been citing many campuses that do not have effective shared governance structures. It's one of the common citings after the institutional effectiveness one that we got cited for last year. Sure.
Is there any evaluative process? Instead of evaluating?
It's interesting you ask that question, because we were planning on doing an evaluation that was modeled after AAUP. They have a recommended evaluation. And I'm on the SUNY Shared Governance Transformation team of the Chancellor. So what has happened is that there are a few faculty, a few administrators around the state who are working together to develop an assessment tool that all the colleges are going to be using. So we've held off on that, and we'll be, probably in the next year or so, we'll be doing that type of evaluation.
I just have a quick question. Now, just bringing it back to the couple of points that you made, one of the points that you pointed out that because of that, the hours cut, the students can get the programs they need. Can you just explain that a little bit? Because I'm just trying to look at it from a student perspective, where you say that students can get the programs. In what way exactly can they not get the programs?
I was commenting on future consequences for the reassigned time, and I'm not sure if anything was delayed in the last year, Stu, at the college-wide curriculum committee level. But there is a very elaborate process and a very important, strong process that we use on our campus, where courses are developed by faculty in the department through a curriculum committee, then it goes to the department committee, then it goes to the screening committee of the curriculum committee, and the curriculum committee itself, and then the Senate. That process takes a long time, and it should. if there is a delay any step along the way that can impact our course offerings and the programs that we offer. Was there anything you needed to contribute?
Yeah, there was a couple, without getting into names, there were a couple instances, a couple degree programs from different departments that I got phone calls and emails, and people have produced emails saying documents sat on people's desks. They didn't even know who it went to. They didn't know where it was or what reason it was being held up. Obviously, there's half a dozen signatures for these documents to make sure it's going through the appropriate channels, whether it's college, SUNY requirements, our own requirements, Senate requirements. There's a variety of things. And there were indeed programs that were definitely sitting on people's desks for whatever reasons. I can't speak on behalf of somebody else, but what was relayed to me through emails and phone calls, people didn't know where they went because there were shifts in administrative personnel, and for whatever other reasons, documents got delayed. So, without a doubt.
And a readjustment of the reassign time would fix that issue. How would the restoration of the reassign time address that specific problem?
How would address it? One, better communication, the time to communicate with each other. I mean, I was talking to one of the administrators, one of the vice presidents, and I said, you know, the administration gave a listing of 7 points at a Senate committee regarding the decision-making for reassigned time. We went through an email and so forth. I said to this person, you got point number 8. You need more than 24 hours in a day. And I said to this person, how many days did you wish you had more than 24 hours to get your jobs? Trying to find the time to get to all the emails, and boy, there are emails here. Trying to get to all the emails and deal with your students and make sure phone calls. I said to one of the deans, M5, that's the exit where my phone starts going off. There's a lot of delays, and it's unfortunate. And programs don't meet deadlines. And this committee's got a deadline, we have a deadline. And then it has to go to the Senate, as Dr. Weiser was saying. I didn't want to throw out anybody's name, but Professor Newman, he has a degree program, an AA degree program in creative writing that sat on somebody's desk for, it expires in 2 years, and they passed the deadline for expiration. And he can enumerate, he has copies of the emails, so I'm speaking for somebody else, but that was one of the degree programs. This now has to go back come September, and it sat on somebody's desk, as reported to me, for 2 years. It expired, and we just had to have to restart the whole process all over again.
Well, let me ask you this. If you sat on somebody's desk for 2 years, 2 years ago, wasn't there the full complement of the reassigned time? Why would it sit on somebody's desk for 2 years? Please.
There was another chair prior to me. I can't answer what happened prior to that.
It wasn't that the proposal sat on someone's desk. Well, it sat on someone's desk for long enough that when I needed to talk to the chair of the curriculum committee to get some answers about how to proceed, because the process was delayed. In other words, it's not an administrative desk. That's really not by itself connected to student reassignment time. Where his reassignment time comes in, I needed to get answers from him so that I knew how to proceed, so that I could try to get this program to the college-wide curriculum committee and through the process before the deadline expired. Before it expired, and we had we submit a program. Let me start from the beginning. When you propose a program, you have to send out a full letter of intent. The letter of intent goes student-wise. Nassau Community College wants to have a creative writing associate's degree. And that letter of intent goes out for a year. And it's out comment for a year, right? And then during that time, you do the process of writing the program proposal, and you have 2 years from the date that the program announcement goes out to submit the program proposal to SUNY in order to get the program approved. My proposal, and I'll explain how this directly impacts students in enrollment. That proposal sat on an administrator's desk for whatever reason. By the time the administrator came back to me and we talked about it and was willing to sign off, I had very quick answers from student captain in order to be able to proceed. I couldn't get those answers on time. That goes directly to the question of reassignment. I could not get those answers from him on time. My emails went unanswered, and this is not blaming anybody. My emails went unanswered for weeks, actually. I mean, I left both voicemail messages. They went unanswered because he didn't have the time. What has happened, therefore, is I now have to resubmit the letter of intent in September, which means the program will be delayed for another 2 years before we can begin, more or less. Maybe not, but more or less. I mean, the way that directly impacts students, there are two ways. One is we have students right now who are in the English department who are taking creative writing courses who would like to get an associate's degree in creative writing for a variety of different programs. They will now graduate before we can even institute a program. The creative writing program is one that can bring new students to the college. Because in creative writing, community colleges around the country are establishing AAs, and they are getting students, they bring students. We are no longer in a position to promote such a program, to bring students to Long Island, to bring students who would like to study. So that's, I think, a kind of very concrete example to respond to your question.
If I could interject there, when I was in, I forget whether it was my first or second year, I developed a couple of new courses. And the problem is, as has been suggested, the process for getting a course approved here and at the SUNY level is really, really complicated for all kinds of legitimate reasons, because you have to make sure that it's done right. When I was doing it, I was a new faculty member. I didn't know how it worked. What am I supposed to do? I knew I had to do a letter of intent, and I had to get it signed by the department. The other thing that always drives us bats is the transfer survey, right? We have to document, when we develop a new course, the rules may have changed. If I make a mistake, please correct me. We have to provide evidence before the course can be approved here that the transfer credits will be accepted by X number of other schools. It's Stony Brook, it's Queens College, it's Hofstra, I forget how the number is. And that's the really, really complicated part. The point of it is, if you're going to do this right and get it done as expeditiously as you can, you need to be able to get answers quickly and expeditiously. How do I do this? Who does this go to? Where is it? What's the next step? Okay? And if the chair of the college-wide curriculum committee is teaching the full course load, right, he's got a choice to make. Do I deal with the CWCC business and get the course approved quickly enough? Or do I say, well, I'll just go into my next class and wing it, right? There's a real trade-off you have to make. A question, if I don't have the time to do this work, what gives? Does the CWCC chair responsibility give? Does the classroom faculty responsibility give? And those of you sitting here who haven't done this, it may not sound like it should be that complicated, but it is. And that's why the reassigned time is necessary, because you have to have time, because the CWCC chair may not always know what the answer is. So you got to call the vice president, you got to call the dean, you got to call this, that person. Anybody who's ever tried to schedule a meeting knows that it can be incredibly time consuming. That's why it's necessary, because doing this stuff, making the paper move, can take an incredible amount of time, and providing the necessary advice, information, that takes a lot of time too.
Any other questions by the board members?
I just wanted to refer you to documents that I distributed, and some of the documents that I distributed today are letters that the Academic Senate, so we're moving from the discussion with the CWCC chair reassigned time to the Academic Senate Executive Committee reassigned time. And in these letters to Dr. Saunders, we refer to the work that we have done that warrants the reassigned time. So you can see all of the activities, all of the coordinating activities that we are involved with to make the college function. Certainly, as Professor Kaplan said, much of his work involves coordination, as much of the work of the Academic Senate Executive Committee does as well. In answer to the questions about the benefits to students, we, the faculty, would argue that the activities of the Academic Senate are absolutely essential and directly impacting students. It allows time for the Senate leadership to assist our departments in dealing with problems such as Professor Kaplan just said, involving programs or requirements. Our students make up 20% of our Senate committees. They're an integral part in our shared governance, making decisions, collegial decision making. It directly impacts the students with regard to curriculum requirements, academic standing, disciplinary action. And that's what I wanted to say with regard to students. And just one more, just if I could finish my remarks. I would like to close by asking you to consider what cost will it be to the college if it does not support shared governance? Do you think that shared governance has no value? I keep thinking about how heartened the faculty members were when we read your letter, Mr. Prime, to Governor Cuomo. I will not believe that your words to our governor were empty words unless your actions demonstrate otherwise. That those are your comments with regard to shared governance and the importance of placing a trustee on our board who embraces the principles of shared governance, academic integrity. Institutions, like families, must make choices. These choices, of course, reflect a community's values and priorities. If you opt tonight to sustain the President's decision, then you will have signaled your choice and all that it reflects, not only to your faculty, but to SUNY, to the State Education Department, and to Middle States. And Ed just wanted to briefly discuss Middle States, I think, and the importance of shared governance in Middle States. Thank you.
Is it shared governance or is it reassigned time?
It's hand in hand, really.
Okay.
Yeah, the point is, I'm sorry if I'm not making this point clearly. If you look at the materials that I distributed, especially tonight, you will see all of the work that the Academic Senate Executive Committee does for the college. The work involves shared governance work, which is a standard that Middle States expects. Without the time to do that work, we will not have the shared governance structure that we need on the campus. That's the point I was trying to make.
So I have one question. Would you agree that the amount of time put in by the faculty who receive these assignments is far in excess of the clock hours that they're being adjusted for in terms of the teaching law?
Over the years, it certainly has not been commensurate with the amount of work that we put in. Everyone in this room who has had reassigned time for various projects knows that the time is much, much more than the time that we get. But we gladly do it because it makes our heart beat faster. We love doing what we do. Why? Because we love our college, we love our students. That's why we are all here. With the change in the administration and all the problems that we have been having, I have to tell you that our workload has increased even more than we could imagine. We work when we get home to very late at night. There's the joke among the executive committee that someone is always doing private emails because I wake up early, Mike goes to sleep late. We are always working. We work on the weekends, we worked all last summer. My husband's here, he can sort of attest to that also. But in any event, I won't call on him, he's had it rough as it is. So I did want to speak about Middle State. Sorry, Frank.
Okay, I've got a couple of points to make. I wasn't necessarily expecting this to come up, so I didn't bring the whole set of Middle State standards. They're sitting in my office. Middle States expects us to adhere to, satisfy whatever Uber standards. One of them is on leadership and governance. Right? Middle States requires us, I'm quoting here, institutional governance provides a means through which authority and responsibility are assigned, delegated, and shared in a climate of mutual support and respect. Commission of Higher Education expects a climate of shared collegial governance. Okay, to make that work, it doesn't happen by magic. Okay, as Professor Richmond was just pointing out to me, as members of the Senate Executive Committee, we meet twice a week, right? And all of us on the Senate Executive Committee, we are all delegates, I guess you'd say, to various college-wide committees. There's 27 of them. Okay, is that right? 27?
27 with the ad hoc.
27 of the ad hoc committees. So a member of the Executive Committee goes to every one of those meetings, right? Plus our own meetings. That takes time. Okay. And it's important because the work has to get done. Okay, we're actually, I mean, it may sound like special pleading, but we're actually saving the college money by doing this because you're paying for the cost of an adjunct to cover our classes, which is, depending on who the adjunct is, as Kimberly said, not a ton of money. If we weren't doing it in exchange for the reassigned time, you would have to pay an administrator, right? Or you would have to dump additional burdens on the existing administrators, which would make them less efficient in their work, okay? This really getting faculty members to do this work represents a savings for the college. Even if you have to pay an adjunct to cover the course, okay? Because, like I said, those of you who are not intimately involved in the process may not really have a grasp of how complicated it can be. This is not really relevant to the issue of reassigned time. I was chair of a college-wide committee for 2 years, the Academic Standing Committee, right? And we deal with student grade grievances and dismissal appeals, right? If a student is academically dismissed for a low GPA, they have the right to apply for reinstatement, right? And the Academic Standing Committee reads all of those applications. And in the summertime, the applications, we can read 150 different applications. Okay, the students will write a letter explaining why they should be readmitted to the college, and they'll provide all kinds of documentation. A committee of faculty members, we sit there and we read these applications one by one by one. Okay, that takes time. Now it's done in the summer, so actually you're getting free labor because we do it during the summer. Okay, we do it during July and August. Right? So that's a contribution we're making to the college. Grade grievance hearings. I had to schedule a bunch of those when I was chair of academic standing. It's really, really difficult when you have to spend your time calling a student, calling a department chair, calling the faculty member whose grade is being challenged, emailing them, trying to track them down at work, at home, whatever. It doesn't seem like it should take that much time. Trust me, I've done it, it does. Okay? You can spend an entire day trying to reach one person because the student has the right to challenge the grades. If you play phone tag all day, well, that negatively impacts the student's experience, right? And the chair of academic standing doesn't get reassigned time. The issue is not that. The issue is the additional work we do for the college above and beyond our contractual responsibilities. Okay? And chair of CWCC does a lot, and the time isn't there, the work can't be done. Do I need to add anything to that? Okay, but that's all I have to say.
Were there any questions from anyone else?
I've seen on this sheet that you passed out, there are several variations in how many contact hours persons will have.
I just want to ask, a financial copy of this sheet to distribute to the board members.
And I'm just wondering, how do you determine it?
Typically, the academic senate chair will get 9 hours, and the secretary will get 6. and then the vice chairs will get 6 or 3, depending upon the semester. And we divide it up according to the amount of work that each of those individuals do.
And those people are chosen from your...
They're elected. Yes, the Academic Senate has an election, and the Academic Senate is made up of 70% faculty, 20% students, and 10% administrators.
And if I were new to Nassau, how would I ever be a member or have some kind of hours or president?
You're asking if you were a new faculty member, would you be able to get reassigned time? Yes. There is a process whereby faculty would request reassigned time depending upon special projects, etc. Usually in the past, those decisions would go through the academic vice president, and the president would discuss it, and the deans would get involved.
Okay, among other things, we have a bunch of academic programs at the college, like the Latin American Studies project, right? The coordinator of that project gets, or can apply for, reassigned time to perform the administrative functions that are necessary to make the Latin American Studies project happen. If the reassigned time is not there, then again, it's not relevant directly to the issue of Senate and Executive Committee members. But if the reassigned time is not there, how does the Latin American Studies project, or the creative writing program, or any of these other things happen, right? We're doing the work, right? So administrators don't have to. That's the first thing. Second thing, there's a provision in our contract that says that people who work in the Academic Advisement Center can get, I think it's 3 contact hours, is that right? 3 contact hours? 1 course reassigned time to work in the Advisement Center, okay? That's, again, not directly relevant to the issue of Senate Executive Committee members, but faculty members do all kinds of work in exchange for reassigned time. It makes the work happen, okay? If there's no academic advisors, if there's no faculty members getting reassigned time to work in the advisement center, either the quality of the student experience goes down because there isn't as much advisement, or the college has to hire another full-time advisor. So the reassigned time makes the work happen.
I just have one last question. Well, it's more of a statement. If I understand it correctly, due to the cut that we had in the past, everything that you have stated took place, like as far as delay in responding, delay in getting back to the students or helping the students at any given needs or the hours that you guys need. Because of the hours that was cut in the past, it's because this is all that took place so far. You know that. Yeah.
What happened was last year, if you look at at one of the documents I gave you about the reassigned time that was awarded since I think we went back 10 years or so. Last year it was cut, the six hours were cut. We got a lump sum of reassigned time hours, and those hours were cut from the CWCC chair. So this year, the president proposed a much larger cut in reassigned time, which impacts the Academic Senate Executive Committee. So this is in, yes, this is in response to the new cut, which our calculation is 33%. So we were very troubled just figuring what part of our job can we not do. You know, as it is, we're working around the clock, and we're not complaining about that. But it will decimate our shared governance structure. Trustee Adams, just one more quick comment. There are also, of course, within the contract, there is reassigned time for the NCCFT Executive Committee. So with the Academic Senate Executive Committee, that reassigned time has always been awarded by the president. Okay, just point of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me just, Professor Simon, I'll point out one other thing I should make. In some of the areas, as with the Latin American Studies project, administering that program may require, in that case does require, a fairly high level of academic expertise in the subject area. Okay? And a lot of administrators are not going to, a lot of faculty members are not going to have the necessary expertise. If you're talking about something in allied health or nursing, obviously somebody administering a program there is going to have a high level of technical expertise and knowledge in order to make the program work in an academically responsible manner. And there may only be one or two people on the campus who have that expertise, but really, in some cases, it really does have to be a faculty member doing the work.
Look, in all the faculty organizations and teacher organizations and student organizations that you have on campus for these 20-odd years, that this shared time, even time has been done. Has there been any criticism of it by anybody except recently by people in the administration who are trying to make the budget work?
I'll have to defer to
anybody.
Dr. Weiser, Dr. Richmond.
Well, let me just say, pursuant to the bylaw, no, I'm not, Dr. Ryan, please come up. But pursuant to the bylaws, technically, only members of the executive committee can speak.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge. I have served on 3 executive committees over the years, and my colleague is not speaking, but he was previous chair of the Senate, Steve Richmond, and not to his knowledge either. Okay.
Any other questions?
Another question. So what happens now? I mean, this was all interesting. Are we here to just listen and then go home and go to sleep? Or?
Maybe. Well, recognizing the importance of the issue and recognizing the importance for members of the board to have an opportunity to review and reflect upon the minutes of the discussion we just had, and further recognizing that the bylaws of the Academic Senate do not provide for a specific time by which the board must act upon the Academic Senate's action. I make a motion that board action with respect to President Nassau's veto of the Academic Senate's resolution on reassigned time be deferred until the June meeting of the board, which is scheduled for June 21st.
Second.
All in favor? Any against? Any abstentions?
I'm against it because what's going to happen is we listened to the arguments tonight and heard, I guess, it's like an evidentiary hearing, and we're putting off something for June when I may not be there, you may not be there, other board members who aren't here tonight may be there. I mean, it's sort of like giving the case to a jury and then having a different jury make a decision on it. I mean, what purpose is this served by putting it off? I don't know. I understand what's going on.
As you well know, everything that everyone said has been recorded, and I will request transcripts and then so that the missing board members and then all of us can review those transcripts and review all the documents that were given us previously and that were given to us tonight so that we can make an informed decision.
Dan's going to love you. Is this going to be at least a week before the meeting as opposed to getting something like the day we appear? You know, I cannot absorb something in a half hour. I don't have that kind of mind anymore.
Exactly what
I know, you're right one time. You have no idea. That's why I made first degrees.
Quite frankly, you know, what I heard tonight really has given me reason to contemplate this even more.
Cause for pause.
No.
Don't be nice, other people listening.
This is being recorded.
I'd like the opportunity to really review what was said, review the notes that I made, and look at this. I think that the presentation tonight was quite long.
Anthony, just a clarification, are you voting against or abstaining?
I'll let you beat me down on this one. I'll go with it.
Okay. All right.
Because otherwise nothing gets done, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Now time for the reports of the standing committees, finance and capital.
Give me a second, I'm going to go back to my notes.
You may want to table some, Jeff. Because there's one thing I would vote against because I'm philosophically opposed to it.
What's that?
That efficient thing. I mean, there's value in it, but I don't like... That's the thing. I can't change my principles. Maybe because I'm Sicilian, I go crazy.
The expenditures over 100,000, items A and E were discussed.
Guys, a little order. Guys, a little order.
Items A through F were discussed at the committee meeting, and all were moved or approved and moved to full committee. And I make that motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Any against?
I oppose B, not because it's not valuable to the college, but because I'm philosophically opposed to outside contracts.
You said the letter E, you said?
I think it's B. That's the boy, yeah.
As for A, C, D, E, and F, all in favor? Any against? Any abstention? That's the A, C, D.
For purposes of this meeting, are we able to withdraw B at this time?
Let's only get through A, C, D, E, and F. As for A, C, D, E, and F, so move. As to B, I move to table at this time.
Do you have a motion on the table?
Second.
There's a second.
Nice little move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? So tabled.
Right, the next item that we had is, on our committee was a approval for an alternate check sign, and the resolve, Mr. Chairman, is that the Nassau Community College Board of Trustees hereby approves Vice President of Facilities Management Joseph B. Muscarelli to be an additional alternate signatory.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
And also, we had a request from Congresswoman Carolyn McCarthy to do a job fair, and the resolve is that the rent fee be waived for the use of the Nassau Community College multi-purpose room in the College Center building for purposes of a Long Island Jobs Fair sponsored by County Congresswoman Carolyn McCarthy on July 23rd, 2012, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and being further resolved that all associated personnel and maintenance costs will be borne by the user.
Do I have a second?
Second.
No. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
Okay, and again, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion under Article 4, Section 3F of the Board Rules of Procedure to allow for consideration an item that does not appear on the calendar.
Second.
All in favor?
All those in favor?
Well, he made the motion, you're seconding, right?
Right, so then all those in favor of the motion?
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, and here's the item. It's the MOA between Nassau Community College and the NCC and the resolve, let me read where it says here, please. Now therefore, in consideration of the mutual promises and undertakings contained herein, it is agreed as follows, that the above whereas clauses are expressly incorporated herein. The salary of all Link lecturers shall be increased by 2.75% retroactive September 1st, 2011. The salary of all Link lecturers shall be increased by 2.50% effective September 1, 2012. Effective May 31st, 2012, the joint employer shall pay 100% of the health insurance premium of the Link lecturers. 5. All other terms and conditions of the employment of Link lecturers shall remain the same as those in effect prior to the date of which this memorandum of agreement is executed and shall be addressed in bargaining during the upcoming round of contract negotiations. 6. This agreement shall not serve as a precedent for any purpose, nor shall this agreement serve as a past practice. This agreement may not be used and or cited by any of the parties hereto in any of the future agreements, arbitration, or litigation except for the purpose of enforcement of the specific terms in the agreement. 7. This is the entire agreement, and no representations, either oral or written, have been made by any of the parties to this agreement other than those expressly provided for herein. The agreement is subject to the review and acceptance of the Board of Trustees by formal resolution to adopt it. Absent said approval, the agreement shall be null and void. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Nassau Community College hereby adopts the above stated memorandum of agreement between Nassau Community College and the Nassau Community College Federation of Teachers.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
I'm done.
Are you guys applauding Trustee Durso didn't pass out?
And I did first.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman Prime. Good evening. First thing I want to do is welcome Fareed Amin to the Board of Trustees as our new student trustee. So welcome aboard, Sam. I know in the first row we had some of the new members of student government. I see some have left, but you want to? Yeah, please stand up and introduce yourself and role in the connection.
I'm Logan Kenny. I'm president of student government.
Who else was with you? I know they had to leave, but we
Dean
want to
Chen, our
recognize.
vice president, was here, but she had to do. I don't know.
Well, congratulations to you all. Welcome, and we all look forward to working with you this year. So, second thing I want to mention is graduation. We had last count that I had received was over 3,400 applicants for graduation, and I want to extend our congratulations to all of the graduates for a job well done, and we wish them all just the very, very best as they move forward with their education or pursue jobs and what life will bring. I want to mention that the games for the physically challenged we're kicking off tonight with their grand opening. County Executive and Nassau County are sponsoring these events. Nassau Community College is a host site, and we're participating and helping on that front. And the events will be occurring Friday, Saturday, Sunday here at the college. They use the pool, other facilities in the gym, and across the Mitchell Field. And so we commend the county executive and Nassau County for sponsoring this event. And finally, I just want to say that, as we go through tonight and we're working through this veto and the override, I think it's very important for the college to see this process work, because everything you're seeing here tonight is part of that governance. And I could have never explained to the board what the faculty represented and stated here tonight. And so I think it's a very important learning process for everyone, and look forward to further discussions and seeing where we'll be in June. But thank you for everyone who participated in your efforts. With that, I'll close Chairman Prime.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Chairman, let me just say a word.
Yes, Mr. President.
All right, in my report, as long as it might have been, I failed to mention one item, and that is that tomorrow we take over the life science building, and that has been an extraordinary job done under the leadership of particularly Joe Moscarola and Carol Friedman and their team to come in on time, on or under budget, and that the life science building is already just the highlight of so much activity, so many comments. Quite frankly, in some of my travels on the island and in Albany doing some lobbying for different organizations, mostly the school here, when I can, it's a subject that is talked about every place with tremendous pride. And it's just, they deserve a round of applause for what they have done.
Thank you, Mr. Jusalow. I'll now open it up to the speakers list. I will remind everybody that their remarks will be limited 3 minutes. Please, Mr. Donnelly, let me keep time. And our first speaker is, I'll recognize his name, Chuck Patolo.
Chuck Patolo, I work at the college. I wanted to report to the board some good news. Yes. Some good news. As you know, Nassau County has contracted out bus service to the Veolia Transportation Company. There have been concerns expressed over the past years by members of the faculty, by students, and by members of the administration in a variety of forms about how this transition is going to take place. A couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, there was a meeting with the CEO of Veolia, 2 members of the Student Government Association. Remember, the faculty was invited, but at the last minute there was a scheduling difficulty and she couldn't make it. And I was there as well, in which we gave the students an opportunity to talk almost around the kitchen table with the head of the CEO of Veolia, in which the students again were able to express their concerns but in very concrete ways. In one example, one of the students indicated a really great knowledge of the variety of bus routes that he could take to the college. I then asked the question, are other students aware of this? He said, well, not really. So as the discussion progressed, we decided that one opportunity we wanted to pursue was during the orientation period and beyond, having an opportunity for Veolia to give a real outreach of information to students at a variety of times so they could be aware of the variety of transportation routes that could be pursued. Also, the other student there questioned about whether fare cards could be sold at the bookstore. And Veolia agreed, although it doesn't control that directly, to work with the MTA to see if that's possible. Since then, I have been in contact with Rich Conway, with Jeanette Alvarez-Ortiz, of faculty, Maria Cansati of the administration, trying to see how we can work in this information sharing as part of the first year experience, as part of the orientation. And we think that we may be able to work something out on that. So that's some good follow-through to help serve our students better so that the students will be able to use this transportation in a more efficient and effective way. But the other reason why I want to bring this to the board is how proud this college should be of how the students presented themselves. I had worked with these students when they first were doing some lobbying on the state budget, and over the time, and it was very evident in this meeting, how their skills have been honed, so that I think we could all be proud of how well they represented themselves and the interests of the college, and were in no way intimidated by the fact that they were talking to the CEO of Veolia Transportation. So I just wanted to bring that to you.
Can you mention the student names and get it?
Joaquin, it was Gwendolyn Sabroso and Joaquin, I think Joaquin Lobos. Both of the Student Government Association, they pointed that out in the meeting of the Student Government Association, which gave added weight to what their comments were. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think only because the name is so unique that I do remember watching him speaking here on supporting the AMAC. So I would agree with that assessment. How well prepared is this? Kimberly Wright.
Good evening again. I would like tonight to respond to an article written by Lupita Gadias, editor-in-chief of the Vignette, entitled Faculty Protest at Graduation. In this article, Ms. Lupita refers to the vote of no confidence in President Astrab and notes, faculty has also complained that classes which have been made larger have more students than they can handle and give undivided attention to. End of quote. She then went on to say that Dr. Astrab's response to this situation is, quote, look at high school classrooms. How many students do they have? Nothing has been exceeded. Faculty overload their own classes by signing the sheet of extra students accepted per course, end of quote. It is important to note, trustees, that the current increase in class size was mandated by the Astrab administration. The college community was told that the increase was a consequence of the college's fiscal crisis and the state's severe cutback in funding in the spring of 2010. Most classes were increased by 4 and remain that way. Also note that Dr. Astrab's comments contain another factual error. Faculty cannot overload their classes by signing anything. Only the department chair can sign an override. Although we do not have the figures for high school class sizes on Long Island, we doubt that there are many districts with so many students in basic classes, such as the 36 students we have in sections of Math 101 and History 101. It is unfortunate that the president seems to have provided inaccurate information to the vignette on class size, and it is troubling that President Astrap appears to be benchmarking our college to high schools. You should know that the Academic Senate passed its new policy on class size at its May 15th meeting. The policy specifies a consultative process whereby class size changes can occur. The resolution also calls for the formation of an ad hoc committee on class size. It is our hope that the administration will work cooperatively with this new committee to provide appropriate class sizes for each course in fulfillment of Nassau Community College's mission statement, which states, I quote, "The college places a high priority on small classes taught by qualified, experienced faculty to provide an optimal educational environment," end of quote. Thank you.
Deputy Sanders.
I'm Deborah DeSanto, President of the NCCFT, and I'll be reading this statement on behalf of the Executive Committee. If this has been a difficult year, and it is not because we have made it so. Each time we have spoken strongly against President Astrap's actions or sought remedies from the grievance procedure occurred over the actions of the administration, we have done so only after our repeated attempts at finding solutions have failed. It has also been a difficult year, however, because of the many issues that have unnecessarily been turned by President Astrap or members of his administration into major points of contention between us. A list of these issues includes, you asked us for specifics, so here they go. The attempt to deny NCC email privileges to Professor Emeritus, the all NCC moratorium, the raises that were given to certain administrators who apparently deserve more money when they do more work, while the rest of us are expected to do more with less. The problematic nature of President Astrap's vision statement. The attempt to deny full-time temporary faculty 4th semester to 5th semester conversions to probationary status. The embarrassing debacle of the NCC fact book. The changes in the Nassau Foundation bylaws. The reduction of the Academic Senate related release time. And I'm going to go off here. For this to play out here is not really where this needed to play out. If anything, the Senate should have been getting more hours than less hours because it's been nonstop. I can attest to this. There's times that Kimberly and I are working together at midnight or at 6 a.m. in the morning, and it is saving the college money by having the executive committee with the reassigned time. So in addition to the reduction of the Academic Senate release reassigned time, the misinformation provided to the vignette reporters, it basically doesn't stop. None of these issues needed to become major conflicts. That President Astrap allowed them to grow into ones make us question his decision-making ability. Yet he has consistently refused to take responsibility, choosing instead to lay accountability for these problems elsewhere, with the college attorneys, for example, or you, the Board of Trustees, or some other Kansas entity, anyone other than himself. This is hardly the behavior of a leader, and, as much as anything else, justifies the 2 votes of no confidence we have taken against him. As president of the NCCFT, I'm accountable to my members. So are the officers of the Academic Senate Executive Committee, and so is every other elected faculty representative on campus. If we fail as leaders, our members let us know, and when the time comes, they can vote us out. When you extended President Astrap's contract at the end of the last academic year, you signaled support for the style and substance of his leadership. Looking back on this academic year, can you honestly continue to do so? Will you not hold Dr. Astrap accountable as a leader for the strife he has created on this campus? If you don't, then you will have failed not just us and not just our students, but the entire community who values this college. Thank you.
President Astrad, members of the Board of Trustees, and also a student trustee, welcome. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I think that what I'm feeling tonight is what I felt when I've spoken before, which is, what does it really matter what I say? Will the board listen? I feel inspired by some of the actions tonight. In particular, I feel appreciative of President Astrad's comments that he found that this was positive, this kind of discourse. I am concerned about the statement that he didn't feel, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but equipped to do so on his own, because we've spoken about it quite a bit. But nevertheless, I do appreciate that statement. And I have a question. This took a veto and overrule. President Astrad, or anyone, but if I may be, questioning you directly, would you like to see this kind of thing happen without the veto, the kind of exchange that we had, an important issue comes up that we don't have time limits perhaps, or that a few people can speak on it, and questions from the board to the faculty. Would you like to see that happen in the future?
I think it would absolutely be positive and very helpful, yes.
Okay. I did have some things to say tonight, but I feel like I don't want to diffuse the issue here, which I know you're going to contemplate. I would like to mention that the student leader, Luke Martinez, whom you've heard from before, had something to say about the matter, and I will try to get that statement for you from our minutes and send it to you. But to paraphrase it was, when he looked at the criteria for the release time, which is a part of our shared governance for the executive committee members, having intimate knowledge of what they do because he was doing it also, he was delighted because he thought that it would mean they would get an increase in time. I will get you that statement so that you have it. As highlighted by Professor Kaplan, there's been a lot of changes in administration. We've had about 4 organizational charts. And I think that I have begun to feel that this is partially an experiment. And I felt that way with the class cuts that I mentioned. I hope that after you look into the reassigned times, that you also consider the report that I gave you at the last Board of Trustee meeting, which highlighted multi-millions of dollars in lost revenues from class cuts. Thank you very much.
Dr. Reiser asked me to point out that the statement by Luke Martinez that Professor Gorman just referred to is in the packet that was submitted to you, so you should be able to read it. I'm going to maybe go off on a little bit of a tangent here. We have a system of shared governance in which faculty members, students, administrators work together to find solutions to the college's problems, right? That's the Senate. The question I would like to ask is, this conversation we have had here tonight about the reassigned time, why didn't it take place in the Academic Senate? Why did we have to have it here? I wouldn't say wasting our time, but it seems to me that it would be a lot more effective, right? And would produce a lot less stress, tension, conflict if we could have these conversations within the existing structure, the Academic Senate. That didn't happen, so we had to have it here. I think it would have been easier on everybody if we could have had this conversation in the Senate and resolved the issues there, right? And then, go forward. Something else I want to point out, I'm probably going to run out of time, so I'll get through this as quickly as I can. I would also like to point out that one of the things that's driving us over there out of our minds is on the veto, the reassigned time, right? It was not necessary because the president could have achieved exactly the same thing by telling us, I've received your request and I'll consider it, okay? That would have ended it, right? But instead, the president chose to exercise veto. We made a request. That was all it was. The Senate made a request for the president to reconsider his decision and restore the reassigned time. He could have said, I've gotten your decision, I've gotten your request, I'll think about it. That's what he could have done. But he didn't, okay? He could have chosen the non-confrontational way, right? I'll think about it, let's talk about it some more, whatever. It's not the path he chose. He chose the veto, right? Which makes us wonder, what's really going on? When you have a non-confrontational, peaceful way to address an issue, why do you have to take the confrontational approach? That's what I don't understand. That's what none of us understands. That's why we sit out there wondering why, this is a question none of us can answer, why the President and the administration seems to be trying to provoke conflict. Because that's the only way we can interpret it. There was a peaceful, non-confrontational way to resolve the issue within the shared governance structure. That's not the path the President chose. That's all I have to say.
I want to thank you for all the security to protect us from hostile administrators. But the recent my name is Frank Presender, I'm Vice President of the NCCFT. The recent college budget submitted to the board and approved by the board is a recipe for failure. Due to the recent budget submitted, we have lost about 80 full-time lines in the last 2 years. So once again, I feel we must remind you of the services provided by the full-time faculty. We serve as academic advisors to tens of thousands of students. We are student club advisors to over 100 clubs. We serve in the 27 academic senate committees. We are the department chairpersons, the promotion and tenure committee, and the sabbatical leave committee. We serve as the union, whether we are in the classroom, the library, student personnel services, the tower, or every other nook and cranny on this campus. We serve on political action, public relations, health and safety, and member benefit administration committees. We serve the New York State United Teachers, the American Federation of Teachers, the National Education Association, the New York State Faculty Council, and the Long Island Federation of Labor. We serve our community both on and off campus using our expertise in the arts sciences, professional studies, and charity. We serve as the conscience and advisors to this Board of Trustees. Without the full-time faculty, Nassau Community College would cease to exist as you know it. If you don't know that fact, I would be shocked. Yet more telling is that I suspect you do know that fact. And yet you continue to support a president and administrative policies that only began with a vote of no confidence by the full-time faculty, and the situation keeps on getting worse. You hear examples of mismanagement month after month, and you still maintain your support for these policies. Considering the dysfunction in Nassau County Legislature, I'm sure they will be pleased with the budget with no additional county contributions and without the political heat of the tuition increase. How low have we set the bar? Low enough to set this college up for failure in order to acquiesce to a dysfunctional county? And regardless of the role in this county, I stand before you beyond disappointed, beyond depressed, and beyond disgusted. You are responsible for the imminent collapse of this college. You are responsible for the imminent failure of the college mission. And you are responsible for the loss of the full-time lines and the unparalleled, incalculable services we provide to our students, our college, and our community. The policies implemented on the Dr. A strap and supported by this board are anti-education, anti-student, anti-community, anti-labor, and your constituents will hear from us loud and clear. And you will have to explain your actions to them. And it'll be interesting to see how you do that in 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Astrab, Mr. Kron, members of the Board of Trustees. This is a little like haiku, saying a lot in 3 minutes, or 17 sounds or something. So I'm taking my inspiration tonight from Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. Starts out with, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received for good or for evil in the superlative degree of comparison only. So here's my comparison. Our best of times is what we do at Nassau Community College for our students and the community, something most trustees know almost nothing about, and appear, to many of us, to care less, with energy and dedication that are derived from a close identification with the institution. The faculty and staff here have made Nassau Community College the finest community college in the nation, something that trustees appear indifferent to as well. The darkness, despair, and foolishness that have made this past year the worst of times at NCC has come from your willingness to discard the due process that we commonly refer to as shared governance. Due process, rights under the rules or laws, once spurred colonists to make the American Revolution, drove workers to build unions, motivated the great struggles for civil rights and women's rights. Due process requires transparency, as Dickens said, a season of light. You've watched an administration impose censorship, secrecy, and deceptive practices in pursuit of the destruction of due process. It is now you, the trustees, whom we must regard as hostile to the destiny of our college. Your hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil approach in defense of a failed administration makes you responsible for the foolishness, darkness, and despair now flourishing here. When my friend and colleague, Dr. Shoal Cohen, told the Board of Trustees at its last meeting that our two sides were at war, he was reflecting on what you have allowed to take place, that the faculty no longer are in conflict with an unresponsive, dishonest, and incompetent administration, but are facing a Board of Trustees that favors secrecy, suppression of free expression, and the end of cooperation between and among the professional employees at Nassau Community College. Thank you. Today's my birthday, and I actually decided it was more important to be here than to be with my family.
You're like 95, how old are you?
Almost. Almost. But you're not getting rid of me this soon. Comment, it is war. Because how else can you explain all the individual attacks on the faculty and on the way this college has been run? You're right. It doesn't make sense as you look at these things individually. You've got to look at the whole picture, and it's war. I really believe that Dr. Astrab, backed by his administration, and somehow has gotten you guys to go along with this, is not doing these things because he doesn't realize their effect or it's his bumbling ineffectiveness. That's not it at all. He has an image. He has an image of what this college ought to be. And that image is totally antithetical with being the jewel in the crown. It is going to be a situation where that crown is tarnished and corroded because of the absence of that jewel. What makes a great college? A great college is one that is known for the uniqueness of its faculty, of the way it is self-governed, of its ability to recognize and allow different approaches, different philosophies. It's an education you can get nowhere else.
Dr. Astrab foresees an education you can get anywhere else. And I think we should fight against that. Thank you.
Last week I was at graduation, and it was truly special time, truly special moment. I want to thank some of the people that are in this room that helped make it so, and some of the people that are in this room that helped make it so. These stories were wonderful. Even a tough guy such as myself was welling up a little bit, but it expressed to me how what's important. And I think everybody in this room will agree that the moment that we all shared during graduation is ultimately what we're all here for and what we're all about. So I just wanted to thank everyone for making that night a special one. The next Finance and Capital Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 21st, 2012 at 5 p.m. The next scheduled full board meeting is Thursday, June 21st, 2012. The board will open the public session at 6:30 p.m. and resume the public session approximately 8 p.m. Motion to adjourn. Aye. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Any against?